Austin Aries' character is that he's the greatest, right?
Yeah.
And then Bobby Roode comes out with this fucking music. Like, I would hate that if I was Austin Aries. Like, dude, what the fuck?
You just took my gimmick to 11.
So, coming to you live from the future of Skype. It's Friday. It's Friday, August 19th, 2016, and you're listening to On the Heels Wrestling Podcast. I'm Brittany.
I'm Ray.
I'm Kyle.
You have a script, right?
Yeah. Jesus. We're three co-workers who enjoy the pro wrestling. This podcast gives us the space to shoot on all the aspects of our favorite pastime without those confused looks we get from the rest of our office.
It's all about giving you bite-sized, consistent commentary on the world of wrestling, focused primarily on WWE's ever-expanding rosters and NXT, though we'll occasionally touch on indies and international stuff.
Every week, we'll either recap the previous week's WWE shows, specials, pay-per-views, takeovers, etc., or we'll hold a roundtable discussion on a particular topic. And this week, we have a very, very special guest who we are hugely excited to interview. He's a professional wrestler from Seattle's local wrestling independent show 3-2-1 Battle, former Pacific middleweight champion, and former teen idol, Daniel Makabe.
Woo!
Thank you so much for joining us today, sir.
Thank you for having me, guys. I'm stoked to be here.
And this is kind of a new thing because we've actually got this is our first international episode. As Daniel is residing in Canada, Vancouver.
You got to pay
right?
VAT for each minute or something.
Yes, I am. I'm in Greater Vancouver, British Columbia. I live in a town called Westminster, which is about half an hour outside of Vancouver.
Shit.
Yeah.
So this is really exciting because it's not only like everyone on the Heels is just huge fans of Daniel Makabe.
Yes.
Like on previous episodes, over and over again, we frequently reference the matches as some of our favorites of the show, if not like the best match of each show. So to have this opportunity, dude, like I'm trying not to mark out right now, but thank you so much for being here.
No, I appreciate the support, and I'm happy to be here. So let's do it.
Yeah, it's
All right.
awesome.
Start with some questions.
Oh man, the decisions here. Okay, so are you originally from Canada, from British Columbia? Is that where you reside, or is that more because of a lot of the ECCW and a lot of the different there's a lot of different wrestling organizations kind of up and down. Is this where you're originally from, or is this more of a convenience thing?
No, born and raised in Greater Vancouver. I've lived here my entire life. Currently, it's kind of an inconvenient thing for wrestling in 3-2-1 Battle, just having to deal with the border all the time. But no, I've lived here my entire life. I love it here. I'm probably never going to leave the Northwest. So
awesome, man.
So how long is the drive down? Because you come out you and Big Cat and a bunch of other guys all drive down across the border every time there's a 3-2-1 show.
It's not too bad. It's from the border to Seattle is like 110 miles, and from where I live to the border is about 20 miles. So, give or take, we can do it in about 2.5 hours. It kind of depends on traffic and the border crossing. If we get pulled in and our car gets searched, which does happen on occasion, unfortunately. But
oh shit!
But we're and we have been turned away once last summer. I guess a bit over a year ago now. But there was a 3-2-1 show in June that we got turned away at, and the card had to be drastically changed on the fly. But typically, about 2.5 hours. It's not too bad at all.
Cool. Well, I'll take us right to wrestling mode here, and I'll ask, how long have you been wrestling?
So I got trained, not counting horsing around with my buddies and doing backyard stuff. I got trained in the summer of 2003, and I got trained with a promotion up here called All Star Wrestling, which kind of exists in another incarnation now, but the incarnation that I was a part of doesn't really exist anymore. And I had my first pro match in the Cloverdale Fairgrounds up here, which is kind of a famous venue back in the Territory days. and that was in November 2003 against Big Cat Scott Henson. So,
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's awesome.
You guys go way back.
we did. Although those were not our names for our original pro matches, I will have you know, we did have different aliases at the time.
Are you
right.
willing to reveal what your previous alias was?
I will. They're pretty nerdy. So
Yes.
So Scott's original alias was a news radio reference. I don't know if you guys are fans of the show, but his name was Jimmy James, the man so nice they named him twice,
Yes.
and he was like a rich kid who was kind of like a trust fund kid who like spent his parents' money on wrestling school, I guess is what the gimmick was.
That's
And-
incredible.
And my gimmick was Lincoln Page, and I was a internet wrestling smark. That was and it was like link on page, like web page, right? That was
Yeah.
where the So and I came out to like a punk cover of the theme from Tetris. That was my by a band called Ozma, and yeah, that didn't last very long, but that was our original gimmicks when we broke into the indie wrestling up here.
That's awesome. So okay. So for those that don't have the pleasure of going to a 3-2-1 battle show, just kind of run us through like what is your current gimmick, and how did you evolve from that to this now? Like, how did you get there?
So my current gimmick, I feel, is kind of up for debate now. The brass of 3-2-1 have kind of played up the referencing me as a teenage heartthrob, which is kind of a joke to me, to be perfectly honest. It's just I've just kind of gone along with it, and I'm assuming that's derived from my entrance theme, which is Teenage Kicks by a band called the Undertones, a punk band from the 70s from Northern Ireland. And
you also do come out with like a Letterman jacket.
Yeah, I don't think that helped matters. I just was looking for a sweet entrance jacket, and my girlfriend gave me that for Christmas, so I went with it. But I do have the denim vest with the Makabe back patch now that I've been using as entrance attire since Battlemania. But
That was good.
Denim everything match.
Exactly, the Canadian tuxedo match.
Oh,
but
Jesus
Jesus
God.
Christ.
But yeah, so my girlfriend gives me a hard time. She says I don't have a gimmick and that's boring. To me, my gimmick is that I'm a good wrestler.
Yeah.
And that, like, because that's what's really important to me. Like, I think gimmicks are good and are an important part of wrestling, certainly. But if you can't go, like, you got nothing for me. So that's sort of how I see things, So
Yeah.
that's the kind of wrestler I like to watch, and so that's what I want to be. So
can I ask you something? Do you find like the super loud gimmicks, like rolling with those, is it kind of like limiting or like distracting from like you actually having to like work a match? Like, do you think it's a little too much?
I think I'm pretty flexible in what I'm capable of doing, and I can work with a real wide variety of different styles of wrestlers. So I can just kind of roll with the punches. But if like I'm really getting in there and having like what I consider to be like a really good kind of well put together match that is kind of personally satisfying, I prefer someone who would rather wrestle with me than be focused on their gimmick.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, totally.
Totally. I think the gimmicks are great because it kind of gets it allows the audience to immediately figure out who you are and kind of the whole like whether or not they're supposed to be behind you.
It is a good way to establish people, absolutely.
Right, because it's kind of like, okay, well, this guy's coming out as a teen heartthrob. Okay, I'm cool with that. Or, oh, this guy's coming out in a catsuit. all right, I'm down. What's up? Like,
Yeah. But then,
it works.
But then when you get into like, you've been to the shows, you know who the gimmicks are. It's now you got to get into the substance, to the meat.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm all about the meat for sure.
Yes.
You heard it here first. Makabe
Although with that being said, I have been a vegetarian for during various points of my life. So
yay! I support this as long as you're getting your protein.
Yeah, that's tough. But yes. Anyways, moving on from my various incarnations as a vegetarian.
Yes. So what made you want to be a wrestler?
I have been a wrestling fan for a long time, like since like age 6 or 7, and it's always been the thing that I've just kind of, I have other interests. I'm a musician. I like other sports. I've done theater. I've done all sorts of things, but wrestling has always been like number one in my heart, I guess, as corny as that sounds. But
you're on a podcast, dude. Nothing is corny.
I guess a wrestling podcast, no less.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
No judgment here.
So it's something, like from a young age, I was always just kind of screwing around with my friends, and then that kind of got more and more serious and led to us wanting to do it in front of crowds and get paid sometimes. So
like to get paid sometimes, because it's not about like, because
it's not about getting paid. If you're doing it just to get paid, getting paid's awesome. Don't get me wrong. I like getting paid, but
I think we all do.
Sure. And I don't think it's wrong to want to get paid for your art, right? Like in any walk of life, right? But I think the art has to come first and foremost.
Yeah.
Too. So
for sure.
I agree.
Well, you're talking about being a wrestling fan for a long time. I'm really curious who some of your first favorite wrestlers were, and maybe some matches you really liked growing up that kind of formed your fandom.
So this is hilarious, considering what I've come to be and what style of wrestling I kind of do.
You gonna say Hogan?
No, I'm gonna say Ultimate Warrior.
Okay.
I feel like I'm maybe slightly older than you guys, because when I was like 6 or 7 was like heart of like Hogan and Warrior as 1 and 2.
Oh yeah.
And so the first pay-per-view I ever watched was WrestleMania 7, and I watched it on closed circuit when they still did that, at the Pacific Coliseum here in Vancouver, which is like our hockey arena. And it was maybe the last year they did closed circuit, before they just kind of did away with it altogether, right? And I was hooked. Warrior versus Savage retirement match, and Hogan versus Sergeant Slaughter, and So I'm so I was a big Ultimate Warrior fan as a kid.
Did you ever paint your face?
I definitely went into show and tell in grade 2 with Warrior arm tassels on at one point. I definitely
ribbons from your sister's bicycle kind of a thing.
Yeah, I think it was just streamers, this kind of the paper streamers tied around my arms. But yeah, pretty ghetto Warrior tassels. But
awesome.
But yeah, I don't know about favorite matches back then. I was pretty religious in watching the syndicated shows back then, but nothing really sticks out as something that I watched as a child that was really a favorite. I've been I spent most of my my youth and my teen years as a pretty diehard tape collector and tape trader.
Mm-hmm.
So so by the time I was 17, 18, that was something that I was doing a lot of. And I still have a ton of VHS tapes from my youth that I've keep telling myself I'm going to convert to DVD, and they're just still in boxes in my closet. So
I'm super interested in which tapes, what was it ECW? Was it Japan? Because I was doing exactly the same thing with my brother.
So when I really got into it and started like buying online and trading, it was the ECW pay-per-views and arena shows. It was Japanese stuff like the two that everyone always gets first are IWA King of the Deathmatch,
Oh,
Cactus
God.
Jack and Terry Funk, and
C4.
Super J Cup '94.
Oh yeah.
And so yeah, that was a big part of it. But then I started like getting pretty like hardcore into like current being like the year 2000, like Japanese indies. So I was a big fan of Toryumon, which went on to become Dragon Gate.
Yeah.
I was a really big fan of a promotion called Battle Art. It was like kind of a hybrid like shoot style, work style, but they like Battle Arts is crazy. I could talk forever about it because they'd have like shoot guys doing like lucha and like doing like real like pro like American style gimmicks, but it's like such a crazy like indie. But they'd also have guys who would like just go in there and just straight up punch each other in the face. So yeah, so I got pretty hardcore into trading that stuff. Plus like the classic '90s All Japan stuff and like Japanese stuff was definitely my focus for sure.
So you clearly have like a wide range of stuff that you've watched previously. Like what do you watch
Absolutely.
nowadays?
I kind of watch a wide variety of stuff, and like at the same time I don't. Like I've kind of turned into like a grumpy old man when it comes to pro wrestling, and I like certain things and I really don't like other certain things. So
You're allowed to have opinions.
I would hope so. So
They might be wrong though. That's okay.
I see. So I keep up with like some indie stuff. I watch like PWG. I'm a big fan of in Southern California, and we're actually going to PWG's Battle of Los Angeles Labor Day weekend. We got tickets, and we're flying down.
Ooh, awesome!
Which is like every year they have the craziest lineup. And actually, the last Battle of Los Angeles we went to was 10 years ago. We drove to LA and to go to that, and so it's kind of cool. We're going. I've been to PWG maybe 6 or 7 times in the last 10 years. I follow Evolve, a little bit of Ring of Honor, and then as far as other stuff, I have the WWE Network, so I watch a little bit of NXT. I'm really into the Cruiserweight Classic.
Yes,
it's just so fun and easy to watch. Like it's just like. It's and it's just a wrestling show. Like they get everything over through like in-ring stuff. Like that's what I'm all about, is telling stories in the ring. You don't need to tell a story with like backstage or like kind of goofy like storylines. Like let wrestlers be wrestlers, and that's what it is, right?
It feels a lot. It feels a lot like Saturday morning wrestling, where it's just more of a like, okay, sweet, we're just watching wrestling, no main event, no major gimmicks, just wrestling. It's
absolutely.
Like there's a vignette and a handshake and an entrance, and that's all you get as far as non-wrestling storytelling goes.
Like all these guys are managing to get over like really good because like that's one they like cherry picked like all the best guys that they don't have under contract basically running around the indies, and yeah, they're just letting them go out and have like simple, like good matches, and like I can't wait for the coming weeks for it. It's so fun to watch every week. Who
is your choice to win the whole thing?
I think Ibushi's going to win it.
Okay, who do you want to have win it though? Because I think everybody thinks Ibushi's going to win it.
It's torn. Like I'm like maybe the biggest Zack Sabre Jr. fan on the planet, and but like part of me is like kind of selfish that I don't want him to win it because I don't want him to get signed. Like, I want him. Obviously, I want him to be successful, right? And he's like very successful, like currently, and he's very much like in vogue. Like people are starting to like understand like what he's all about. But like I love his work in Europe. I love his work in PWG and Evolve, and like part of me secretly wishes that I get the chance to wrestle him someday. It's never going to happen, but it's really not going to happen if he gets signed to the WWE. So, but I'd love for him to do good. There's so many guys in there that I love watching and have had for like years. I love Akira Tozawa. I actually we went to LA and we saw Tozawa wrestle Zack Sabre in January this year, and they had like a crazy match. So I'm a big fan of Jack Gallagher, and I'm stoked that like people seem to be really into him after his match last week or a couple weeks back on the Cruiserweight Classic. So
awesome. Well, the guys we talked to previously were local, so they have the chance to go to the Battle Palace and train a bunch. But it's kind of wondering, like, how often do you get to train, and like, do you and Big Cat, just go have a tussle in the woods or something, or do you have a local ring you knock the rust off at or whatever?
So I don't get to train as much as I'd like. I have trained at the Battle Palace 3 or 4 times, just like gone down on my own dime, on my own time. Like, so I've gone down on like a couple like of the Monday and Wednesday nights too, and like have to be back at work for 7 o'clock the next morning.
Damn.
Too. Shit. That's no fun. But sometimes I just get the urge to just get in there, So there are rings up here, and I've had offers to come training with some friends who wrestle locally up here. I'm hoping to do that once I get over my current foot issue that has been plaguing me since June.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't train enough, and I'm planning on changing that once I get back into proper shape when it comes to my injuries healing up and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so
you must have like the hunger since you're kind of a technical wrestler with your style. So
I 100% have I do have a hunger currently to just like physically just kind of fight someone. That sounds wrong, but like
Makabe just punch him in the face.
No, I wanna like and this might come across in the wrong way too, but I just want to grapple with someone. Like I miss getting in there and mixing in with people, and like that's one thing I've already told the people who run the training at 321 that once I'm back into physical fitness, I'm going to be coming down and I'm basically going to just run drills of just taking on the entire locker room in training, just to get myself back into physical shape and just to try out new stuff that I've been itching to try as I sit not so patiently on the sidelines.
So for those that haven't heard us talk about this before, Daniel Makabe was in a match with one of our favorites as well, Bat Boy, and he did a move and ended up breaking his foot. So I want to ask you how what have the doctors have told you? Like how soon is that going to be? Like as far as you getting cleared, like. And how's rehab? Like how have you been doing as far as, can't be on that foot. What are you doing to get exercise in?
So back in the middle of June, as you stated in a match with Bat Boy, doing I was about to say a rudimentary spot, but it wasn't rudimentary really.
No big deal.
No big deal. It was but it was a drop kick out into like the crowd that I've done plenty of times. Yep. And for some reason on my way down, my brain just decided that I didn't want to land on my hip tonight, because that's normally what happens. I just kind of eat it, and it sucks in the moment, but you deal with it. And I put my foot down to break my fall, and so I broke my second, third, and fourth metatarsal bone, and like they were clean breaks.
Yeah.
And then I also had like a really nasty sprained ankle. So we're coming on, it's been about 8.5 weeks since it's happened. I have seen an orthopedic surgeon since then. I didn't need any surgery. And the most recent visit was a week and a half ago. He says everything's coming along good. They're not fully healed yet, but he has given me the go-ahead to start doing physiotherapy and to start wearing actual shoes, because I have been wearing an air cast for the last 6 weeks. And
those are in style this year, so
yeah, they're not fun.
No, not at all.
And it's coming along. I'm hopeful that you'll see me back in a 3-2-1 ring by the end of September. So fingers crossed on that. But yeah, I'm definitely getting more strength back in my foot. I've been wearing shoes whenever. At my 9 to 5, I'm still wearing the walking boot, unfortunately. But such is life. It's coming along. There are days where I'm really impatient, and then there's days where I can see the light from beyond the trees or whatever. So it'll happen when it happens, but hopefully it's soon.
Awesome. So you've got the job, the band, the wrestling, all of these things that you're balancing. So knowing that wrestling isn't like your primary focus, what's sort of your long-term goals as far as being a wrestler?
It's funny because when I started, just like when I was a kid, just horsing around with my friends, I really had no desire to like get trained and do indie wrestling. I thought there was so many there was so much politics, and there was so many I don't know, it just didn't really appeal to me. And once I actually got in there, and don't get me wrong, there's a lot of politics and garbage involved with indie wrestling. But,
I hear about that a lot.
But there's also, I don't know, like I'm certainly glad that I've done it for as long as I have, and that I ended up taking the route that I did. My goals have recently changed. I don't know, like previously I was just happy to be. This might be exposing the breaking down the third wall a little too much, but or is it the fourth wall? Maybe it's the fourth wall.
Down all of them.
Break the walls down,
Break
right?
them.
I support it.
Yeah. Anyways, I was kind of happy to be a big fish in a small pond, and maybe I don't know. I like to think of myself as the biggest and maybe the best fish in said small pond, but now lately I don't know. I have. There's people out there I'd like to wrestle. There's like other opportunities that I'd like to take, and I certainly am never going to be able to do this as a living full time. But I think there's just maybe my goals have become a little loftier. I'd like to maybe like travel a little bit more and wrestle. I've got lots of friends who have met along the way coming up who have kind of surpassed me in what what they've done, who they've wrestled, places they've gone, and I'd kind of like to maybe catch up to some of them and get to wrestle some of them and get to see a little bit more of the world, and realistically probably just the United States along the way. So
more than just Seattle and LA.
I mean, like I've traveled around the States a lot. I've wrestled in Ohio. I've wrestled in Rhode Island. Massachusetts, Pennsylvania. Have I wrestled in New York? I've wrestled in England multiple times. But there's still a lot more to do beyond that. So
we asked Cole Crazy last week, and he had some stern words. So be interested to hear your thoughts on what advice you give to somebody who's considering getting into pro wrestling.
Take it seriously. That's one thing I noticed. Like, don't do it if you're not going to have fun, right? Do it because you love it. Do it because it's something you've always wanted to do. Do it because it's something you get enjoyment out of, for sure. But take it seriously and treat it with the respect that it deserves, because the people who have come before you and who've kind of paved the ways so that you have this opportunity to do it, and that it's, like 30 years ago, there weren't just wrestling schools that you could just walk into and say, hey, this sounds like fun. Let's do this, right?
Just jump on it.
You really had to be kind of like accepted into the inner circle, right? And so like I was lucky enough that I got, the opportunities that I got. And so I just would like the people who come after me and my my peers, I guess, to, treat it with respect and treat it with the importance that it has. And like, yeah, it's kind of a corny business, but at times, but like, like there's reasons that people have to pay their dues, and there's reasons that people have to I don't know. I just think treat it with the respect that it deserves. Yeah, sorry to repeat myself there on the kind of closing thought, but
no,
it's cool.
It's an important.
Yep.
The labor of love message has kind of come through now for like third time. Eddie and Cole Crazy, like you can't just jump into it thinking, oh yeah, I could probably do that. Whatever. It's like you guys had said you don't do it for the money. You get beat up. You got to do it because you love it. So.
And absolutely. I love all the mention that, all three of you guys have had about the art and just really caring about it. Because, like, wrestling is sort of that weird sports plus art plus theater plus comic book sort of a thing. So to see people approach it with such care that you guys do, as fans, we really appreciate it.
Yeah, it definitely shows.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, I think that's gonna wrap it up for this week.
Yeah.
If you like the podcast, you can find us at Twitter at OnHeelsWP and on Facebook.com/OnHeelsWP. We're also on iTunes, where you can download past episodes or subscribe to future episodes.
So hit that subscribe button, leave a comment on the iTunes store, give us a 5-star rating so more people can find us. Tell your wrestling friends about us. Check us out on SoundCloud. Feel free to tweet or message us random wrestling stuff, and we will respond and share.
Thank you for listening to On the Heels Wrestling Podcast, and thank you to Daniel Makabe for being our guest today.
Hooray!
It was very awesome to have you. I'm so glad that we were able to hook up this this call from across the huge gap between Seattle and Canada. But yeah, no, loved having you here, and hope we get to see you back in the ring very very soon.
Can't wait.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, guys.
Yeah. So tune in to our next episode where we'll be recapping SummerSlam and all the crazy aftermath that follows Raw and SmackDown. And then after all that, we'll ask ourselves the eternal question tonight at Pajama Jammy Jam: will Daniel Makabe make it past the border?
Ooh. I think it depends on like what the pajamas are and if they're like suspect.
Have you ever been pulled over for suspect clothing?
Good question. No.
There's a first time for everything.
On the Heels Wrestling Podcast.